everybody, welcome back to the channel and to FS25 Highlands Fishing. In today's video, we are going to be doing a collectible hunt on Kinlaig, show you the collectible locations, and then we are going to read the story at the end that goes with it. But a disclaimer, I do play on PC, and for those of you who play on PC, if you have easy dev controls, in your general settings, you can see this thing that says show collectibles, put that to 0%, and then these dots right here, like, that are in, like, the center of my arrows here, right here, that is the general location of your collectible. But if you don't use easy dev, and if you are on console, you can't do this. So I am going to do it for you and show you exactly where every collectible on Kinlaig is. And I have already looked. There are 12 collectibles on this map. So let's get started. I'm not going to show you my going to them and searching for them, but I will come back in and show you where they are, what they are, when I get to them, or this video will be too long, because sometimes even with easy dev like this, it can be a little bit tricky to find them, but I am hoping to alleviate some of those problems today. So, let me find the first one, and then I will be back. Alright, here is your first one. I will show you, zoom in on the map where I am. I am right here, and it is right here. You can take a look at the coordinates in the mini map on the bottom if you want, but we are going to get closer and collect. You have found chapter 10. 1 out of 12 chapters found. Like I said, we are going to read this from start to finish at the end of the video. So we are going to just back out of that now, and I will be back when I find the next one. I'm not going to keep saying that. That's how it's going to work. I'm going to come in. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to come in, zoom in on the map, give you a second to screenshot or take down the map coordinates, and then I will go to the next one. Alright, here is the next one. We have found chapter 2. Okay, here's number 3. So, here's the bridge. I came through here. So, I'll show you. So, you don't want to go across the bridge. You come to this bridge, and by the look of the picture, I thought it was over here. So I went across the bridge. You don't want to do that. You want to come to the right of this bridge, down here to the water, cross right straight across from that boat, come up here, and here is number 3. There's your coordinates. On tricky ones like this, I will give an explanation. There we go. On to number 4. Alright, here is number 4. That is where I am. There is the coordinates. Here's what's behind it. This is clearly a collectible. There we go. There's number 4. I had to get up really close onto that one for some reason. On to number 5. Okay, here's the next one. I believe we're on 5. Right there. There are your coordinates. Collect. And on to the next one. Alright, here's the next one. I believe this is number 6. here I am. Here are your coordinates. And collect. Jeez, they are very sneaky with some of these collectibles. Anyway, here is the next one. I think this is 7. We'll see when we collect it. There are your coordinates. Yep. And on to number 8. Okay, here is your next one. This is where we are. There are your coordinates. I believe this is number 8. Yep. And on to number 9. Okay, if you are, as a little side note here, if you are on PC and you're using EasyDev to find these, you can deselect on your hotspots, deselect everything except for others, and you can see them a lot better. Here you go. Here's the next one. I forget what number we're on. But there is where we are. There are your coordinates. And that was a 9. So we have 3 more to go. On to number 10. Alright, here's number 10. This is where I'm at. This is your coordinates. There we go. This is that bridge, like train bridge we've been seeing in a lot of the previews. And it's right down here by the water. On to 11. Alright, here's number 11. So, you, visit Ellis Dare here. Turn to the left. And it's right there. But there's where I'm at. There's your coordinates. And collect. We have 1 more left. And then I have to figure out where to go to read all this. So, first off, let me go find the last one. Alright. Here is the last one. This is where we are on the map. I just came over here from one of these fields and just swam over here. But I'm guessing you could take a boat and boat over here too. But it is on this island here. Here are your coordinates. And now, 12 out of 12, the museum needs help. Huh. Now the question is, how do we read these? I am not sure the answer to that right now. Let me turn this back on. Let me find the museum and I'll be back. Okay. So, you are going to go to the castle here. Okay. So, now we are going to go into the castle and then go up on top. We're going to come up here. Hold on, I'll be back. I have to figure out exactly where we're going. There we go. Now you see this book, and you can read book. So, I think there's also a way for them to have you read it. We will explore that in a minute. But I am going to read this to you guys because I like this kind of stuff. And I like making voices. I'm a weird. Call me a weirdo. But I like reading stories like this and making weird voices. So, let's go. Here I am, Captain. I am called now, entrusted with a fine ship and finer crew, ready to sail beyond known waters. Strange feeling, holding the helm. Like wearing someone else's boots. They fit, but I'm not yet sure whose footprints I'm meant to follow in this expedition. Then again, no one leaves footprints on the sea. Tomorrow we set sail, not for trade, no, but for discovery. There's talk of unrecorded currents lights that flicker where no lantern hangs, and beasts no nets ever hauled aboard. In the deepest depths, our employer is hungry for answers, ayo? Same as us. Let the sea reveal what it's kept hidden, and we'll put names to the nameless. But first, I need to know the names of my crew. A ship sails better when her people aren't strangers. And on controller, it is L1 and R1 to switch pages on here. I checked in with some of the crew. There's Dougal, our quartermaster, salty as dried cod. Claims he's ridden every wave in the North Atlantic. Certainly not. Young Finley mans the sails. Barely a whisker to his name, yet bold, or foolish, enough to mouth off at Poseidon himself. Should the protector of seafarers rise on the horizon, I'll have him shoved below deck before he gets a word out. The cook and the chaplain I've yet to properly meet. Word is they've been arguing over sauerkraut since we shoved off, and not the friendly sort of debate neither. Then there's Mariana, our navigator and ship's medic. A loss aboard made some folk twitch, ayo? But there's sound reason she's here. Studied under scholars with the Royal Society, reads both stars and stars like scripture. She does, treating both with the same precision. A few still grumble. Old salt and older thinking, but none can deny her sight. She sees patterns where others see waves. That includes this ship's young captain. Truth be told, we've been 2 weeks at sea now. So far, everything's gone quite splendid. Barring one daft incident with sauerkraut getting tossed about the caboose. Ayo, it seems there's been a right simmering debate in there about prosaic versus poetic literature between the cook and the chaplain. That strange pot's been brewing, that strange pot's been boiling over for days between these two. While that particular stew continues to bubble, I've noticed something odd, strange. Discrepancies in the charts, or perhaps in the stars themselves. Mariana muttered the maps must be off, all while whispering about stars that shouldn't be where they are. She's a wee bit shaken, not by her own skill, but something else. I trust her. She's taken herself off to her quarters to study. Meanwhile, we hold the course as planned. Someone really ought to scrub the deck. It reeks of fermented cabbage. So it does, blah. We hauled the nets from deep down just past dawn, expecting the usual shallow water fish. But alas, we found something. Our first discovery. Far from home after 1 month already. Finley preferred tossing it right back. However, about the size of a cat, slick as wet algae on the shore, with arms lace folded inward and a mantle that looks like a black cloak, as if it spun from the shadows in the deep, eyes too big, red, and knowing for comfort, and a mouth that didn't seem built for eating. Mariana called it a cephaloropod? Sorry, I'm butchering some of these names. I know it. This is fun. Some kind of squid, but nothing she'd ever seen. Finley claims it shifted dark to darker when we spoke of it as if it was listening. It pulsed gently in the net, as if it knew panic was beneath its dignity. It seemed intelligent. We shortly kept it in a barrel for observation and documentation, but it vanished by nightfall. Lid still tight, just faint traces of photophorensic scenic on the deck like the stars had taken it, helped it get back into the sea. They are certainly not helping us to stay on course, which we are not anymore. Fog everywhere. Not just a mist hanging over the sea. No, this is an unsettling amount of opaque weather, like the sky itself decided to descend, or as if our creator, in a moment of inspired theatrics, was going for atmosphere, like adding a pinch of salt to a fine soup. Only instead of a pinch, he upended the whole sack and then some, right into a pot already filled with salty fish. What I'd do for an off switch, ayo? Everyone aboard feels Mother Nature overdid it with the fog. Thick enough to chew, breathing feels like drinking wet cotton. If something were to rise out of the water, we'd only see it once it was kissing the hull, which is what some men fear. We're lost in a sea of heavy clouds, gray on gray, with no landmark and, strangely, no sound. Not the groan of the hull, the flap of rope, or gulls overhead. Everything vanished. Or are we the ones who vanished? Fog still lingering, same as the stink of sauerkraut. I'll be honest, it's both a blessing and a curse. We've got way too much of this stuff. I've kept us fed but not sane. It'll keep us fed but not sane. We're not catching anything. No fish, no current, no direction. Not much left to do, so the crew's been gathering on deck around a cracking fire, set up in an old metal crate. It's somewhat cozy, truth be told. Stories are flying, some true, some not, and more. It's hard to tell which is which. Then there's Finley, the young lad's insisting he saw a Gradiolo crawling about on the ship's hull, right fresh out of Scottish fairy tales and straight onto our ship. Apparently full of nonsense, that boy. Mariana comforted him. It was probably an octopus or squid that came visiting, she said, although she did not appear to believe that this was the case. Good news and rather confusing news as well. Fog's gone as fast as it came, like it'd never been there at all, but not before it left something behind, a rather mysterious memory. We weren't sure what time it was when we heard water splashing like tons and tons of sea being shoved aside. The kind of sound something big makes when it rises slow and stays risen. At first we thought, well, had to be, but it did not come down again. We've been calling it a hallucination for lack of a better word. We made out the silhouette of what appeared to be a large structure, like a mountain of strange form rising. We stared, all of us, long enough that nobody asked if it was real. It must have been a weather phenomenon of some sort, Mariana claimed. Maybe. It was dawn when we looked a second time. Every seafarer got stories, and instead of playing cards, their favorite pastimes trying to out-weird each other. The game's simple. Tell a tale stranger than the last, and do it with a face so straight it might as well be carved from driftwood. That urge to calm the oldest yarn ever spun is probably why myths cling to the sea like algae to rocks. They talk about ghost ships, giant krakens, intelligent people lurking beneath the waves. But there's rarely anyone to confirm what some old weather-beaten captain that spat out by the sea is muttering about in the darkest corner of a coastal tavern. But this time, well, our little encounter might not win prizes for drama or dread, but we had more than one pair of eyes see it. Then again, there's not much to tell, so why tell it? We got to our destination where our ship is going to retire after months of our expedition. Most of the crew got off to hire with other companies as planned. Only Mariana, Finley, Doddle, and Chaplin and me returned home on a smaller boat. Back home, Mariana will hand over her documentations of creatures to our employer and then will scatter. She is pleased with our findings of seemingly unlisted sea creatures, at least to our knowledge. To be honest, we're not entirely sure how we ended up at our destination. Mariana still claims either the charts or stars were wrong and we drifted blind for quite some time. Maybe this captain done something right without knowing it? Hopefully our voyage back home will be easier. First, we catch our breath in this vibrant port town. It's warm here and people seem chipper. Also, we stock up on something else but sauerkraut. 2 weeks on our way back home. Mother Nature seems to have found the off switch for the fog. Instead, she put a strange island in front of us. We don't even argue if it should be there or not, as it's not marked on any chart. Either all our charts are cheap fabric full of false information or it is indeed uncharted. Royal Society's got an interest in unmapped land masses and the crew argues whether to approach. The island's jagged, possibly volcanic. We can hear a kind of hum from it, low and constant, like the earth itself is remembering a tune. The shoreline glints oddly as though the rocks are covered in ink, and a lot of it. With a few long weeks still ahead, Dougal and the chaplain went to land and rest. Mariana naturally wants to explore. And Finley, well, he's still Finley, loud until the unknown answers back. I suppose I'll set the anchor. Who knows what we discover. This page is in bad condition and not readable. It seems like ink was spilled over the page. So, it's only me now. It seems to be a recurring theme of my last voyages, but I'm not sure how I got here. If I'm being honest, it's peaceful. I'll give it that. A nice change of scenery. No shouting, no sails, no trim, no charts to argue over. Not many folk about. Mostly farmers, but those I glimpse seem busy with their own affairs, and that's fine. There's a castle in the bones of another nearby. Ancient stones older than sense. It's a comforting sight, this place. After months at sea and decades before that, maybe I'm overdue for a proper rest on land. This place seems as good as any. Quaint, quiet, gentle. Might even take up fishing again for myself this time. And that is it. Alright, that was flippin' cool. And you can go up here and read it anytime you want. If you play audio, there is audio on it, but I thought it would be fun to read it myself because I'm probably a nerd and like to make voices and stuff when I'm reading stuff like that. But with that, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And in the next video, we are going to be looking at the vehicles and equipment. Gonna do like a mod type video for the next one, going over all of this. And then from there, I think we're gonna go productions, and then the video after that we'll do constructible menu, I think. But with that, I will see you all later. This is awesome! I can't wait to dig into this DLC more with y'all.